5 minutes before the biggest pitch of my career, I stood in front of 12 investors. My heart pounded as I adjusted my navy dress, the one I'd saved 3 months to buy. This presentation could change everything for me at Morrison & Associates. Iris, my boss, walked behind me with that fake smile she always wore. "Good luck, Chloe," she said sweetly. Then I felt her ring catch the side of my dress. The sound of tearing fabric filled the silent room. My dress ripped from the waist down, exposing my legs to everyone. Gasps echoed around the conference table. Heat rushed to my face as I grabbed the torn fabric, trying to hold it together. "Oh my goodness, Chloe, I'm so sorry," Iris exclaimed, her voice dripping with false concern. "It was totally an accident. My ring must have caught your dress." But I saw it in her eyes, the satisfaction, the tiny smirk she couldn't hide completely. I need to," I stammered, backing toward the door. "Of course, dear. Take your time," Iris said, already moving toward the presentation screen. "Don't worry, I can handle your pitch while you fix yourself up." I rushed out, tears burning my eyes. 3 months of work, gone in seconds. I burst through the restroom door, my hands shaking as I tried to assess the damage. The tear ran almost to my knee. There was no fixing this. No way I could walk back in there. "Chloe?" I spun around. A woman in an elegant gray suit stood by the sinks. She looked about 60, with silver hair and kind eyes. I'd never seen her before, but something about her presence commanded respect. "I saw what happened in there," she said gently, reaching for the paper towels. "Dear, let me help you." "It's ruined," I whispered, my voice cracking. 3 months of work, and now Iris is in there presenting my ideas as her own. The woman's eyes hardened. "She did that on purpose, didn't she?" I looked up, surprised. "What?" "The dress. That wasn't an accident." She stepped closer. "I saw her do it. I know her type. But I want to hear it from you. Why is she targeting you?" "I don't understand." "Who are you?" She smiled softly. "Someone who cares about what's right, and someone who's been in your shoes before." Something in her voice made me trust her. "She hates that the investors like my ideas. She's been stealing my work for months." The woman listened as I poured out everything. How Iris took credit for my marketing campaign that increased our client base by 40%. How she'd exclude me from meetings about my own projects. How she'd interrupt me whenever I tried to speak up. "Last week, she told the board I was too young to understand corporate strategy," I continued, wiping my eyes. "But then she presented my entire digital transformation plan as her own brilliant idea." The woman's jaw tightened. "And today?" Today was supposed to be different. The investor specifically asked to hear my presentation on the new client acquisition system. But now, I gestured at my torn dress. 20 years ago, my boss did something similar to me," she said quietly. "She was terrified that a younger woman might outshine her, so sabotaged me at every turn." "What happened?" "I learned that the only way to stop a bully is to have more power than they do." She pulled out her phone. "Stay here. I'm making a call." Within minutes, a hotel staff member appeared with a garment bag. "Compliments of Miss Olivia," she said, handing it to me. I stared at the woman. "Olivia, how did you?" "The presentation starts again in 10 minutes, Olivia said firmly, "and this time, you're giving it." The black dress fit perfectly. Olivia had somehow guessed my exact size. As we walked back toward the conference room, my stomach churned with nervous energy. "Just remember," Olivia said, "you know this material better than anyone in that room. Trust yourself." We entered to find Iris mid-presentation, clicking through my slides with practiced ease. She looked up, startled. "Chloe, you're back. Don't worry, I've got this covered." "Actually," Olivia interrupted, stepping forward, "we're going to restart the presentation." Iris's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me, and you are?" "I think there's been a misunderstanding about who should be presenting today," Olivia continued calmly. Iris laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. "I don't know who you think you are, but this is my presentation, my team, my meeting." She turned to the investors. "I'm sorry for this interruption. As I was saying about our new acquisition strategy." "Miss Wells," Olivia said, using Iris's last name with cold precision. "I'm Olivia Morrison." The room went dead silent. Even Iris froze. "Morrison," she repeated slowly. "As in Morrison and Associates?" "As in the majority shareholder," Olivia clarified. "And I'd like to hear Chloe's presentation. From the beginning." Iris knew the name but had never met Olivia in person. She had always sent representatives to board meetings. Iris's face went through a rainbow of colors, red, white, then a sickly green. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Miss Morrison," she finally managed, "I had no idea you were attending today. Of course, whatever you'd like." "Chloe," Olivia said, ignoring Iris completely. "Please begin." My hands trembled as I took my place at the front, but as I looked at the slides, my slides, confidence flooded back. These were my ideas, my research, my late nights and early mornings. "Good afternoon," I began. "I'm Chloe Roberts, and I'm excited to share our new client acquisition system." For the next 20 minutes, I presented flawlessly. The investors leaned forward, asking detailed questions that proved they were genuinely interested. I watched their faces light up when I explained the cost savings. I saw them nod when I outlined the implementation timeline. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. "Brilliant work, Chloe," said the lead investor. "This could revolutionize how we approach new market segments." Olivia smiled proudly. "I agree. Exceptional thinking." Iris clapped slowly, but her eyes burned with rage. I knew this victory would cost me later, but right now I didn't care. Monday morning, I arrived to find my office had been moved. Not to a better location, to a windowless supply closet on the 3rd floor. My nameplate was already on the door, along with a note from HR about office reorganization. My computer, files, and personal items were crammed into the tiny space. There wasn't even room for a proper desk chair. "Surprise!" Iris appeared in the doorway, that fake smile plastered on her face. "Sorry about the tight quarters. Budget constraints, you know how it is." "This is a supply closet. Temporary space allocation," she corrected, "just until we figure out the optimal office configuration." I knew this was punishment for Friday's presentation. Iris couldn't attack me directly, not after Olivia's public support, but she could make my life miserable in subtle ways. "Your team meeting's been moved to conference room C," she added casually. "Oh wait, actually, we've restructured. Your team's been reassigned to other projects." "What?" "Nothing personal, just streamlining operations." She examined her manicured nails. "You'll be working independently now. Probably better that way. Gives you time to focus." "Focus on what?" I wanted to ask. But Iris was already walking away, her heels clicking triumphantly down the hallway. 2 weeks later, I sat across from Janet in HR, staring at my quarterly performance review in disbelief. "Meets expectations in most areas," Janet read aloud, "but shows concerning patterns in team collaboration and communication effectiveness." "That's impossible," I said. "My client satisfaction scores are the highest in the department. The JC account specifically requested to work with me again." Janet shifted uncomfortably. "These evaluations come from your direct supervisor, Chloe. I just process the paperwork." "My supervisor who gave me a supply closet for an office? I don't know anything about office assignments." "Janet, you've known me for 3 years. When have I ever had collaboration issues?" She sighed. "Look, between you and me, there have been some concerns raised about your attitude lately. Maybe taking some time to reflect." "My attitude?" I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward. "What exactly has been said about my attitude?" "I can't discuss specifics, but if you're feeling overwhelmed, we have resources available. Stress management programs, temporary leave options." The pieces clicked together. Iris wasn't just isolating me professionally, she was building a paper trail to push me out entirely. "I see what's happening here," I said quietly. "Chloe, I really think you should consider." "No, I understand perfectly." The whispers started small, a conversation that stopped when I walked into the break room. Colleagues who used to chat with me now offered only polite nods. Even Marcus, who I'd mentored when he first joined the company, avoided eye contact. Finally, I cornered Sarah from accounting by the elevators. "What's going on?" I asked directly. "Why is everyone acting weird around me?" Sarah glanced around nervously. "Chloe, maybe you should talk to someone, like a professional." "What are you talking about?" "The mood swings, the paranoia. Iris mentioned you've been struggling with some personal issues." She lowered her voice. "She's worried about you. We all are." My stomach dropped. "Mood swings? Paranoia?" She said you accused her of sabotaging your presentation, that you think people are plotting against you. Sarah's expression was genuinely concerned. "Mental health is nothing to be ashamed of. My cousin had a breakdown last year." "I'm not having a breakdown," I said firmly. The office move really upset you, right? And the team reassignment? Sometimes stress can make us see threats that aren't really there. I stared at her, realizing how clever Iris had been. She'd twisted every legitimate complaint into evidence of instability. Sarah, what if I told you those things actually did happen? She patted my arm sympathetically. That's exactly what my cousin said. I started documenting everything. Every snide comment, every accidental exclusion from meetings, every way Iris undermined my work. But it felt like shouting into the void. During lunch, I overheard Iris talking to the new intern. Poor Chloe, she was saying. She used to be so promising, but success can go to some people's heads, you know? Makes them think everyone's out to get them. The intern nodded solemnly. That's so sad. Between you and me, Iris continued, lowering her voice just enough that I could still hear. I think the pressure of the JC presentation might have triggered something. She's been acting erratic ever since. Should someone talk to her? Oh, we've tried, but you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Iris sighed dramatically. All we can do is be supportive and hope she gets the help she needs. I gripped my coffee cup so hard I thought it might shatter. Iris had poisoned the entire office against me, and she'd done it by positioning herself as the caring boss worried about her troubled employee. When I tried to defend myself, it only made me look more paranoid. When I stayed quiet, it confirmed I was struggling. I was trapped. Chloe, we need to talk. Janet from HR stood in my supply closet doorway, her expression serious. I saved my work and turned around. What's up? There have been some concerns raised about your well-being. Multiple colleagues have mentioned that you seem stressed, isolated, maybe not quite yourself lately. Colleagues like Iris? I can't discuss who specifically, but the consensus is that you might benefit from taking some time off. To recharge, get some perspective. Is this mandatory? Janet hesitated. We're hoping you'll see this as an opportunity, a chance to prioritize your mental health. And if I don't, then we'll need to have a different conversation. Her tone made it clear what kind of conversation that would be. I looked around my cramped office, thought about the whispers and the isolation and the months of psychological warfare. How long? I asked. Start with 2 weeks. We can reassess from there. I pulled out my laptop bag and started packing. There was no point in fighting anymore. Iris had won. For what it's worth, Janet said quietly, I hope you get the help you need. As I cleaned out my desk, I wondered if even Janet believed Iris's version of events. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and wrote my resignation letter. 3 drafts, each one more bitter than the last. Finally, I settled on something simple. Dear Morrison and Associates, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my position as Senior Marketing Analyst, effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunities provided during my time with the company. Sincerely, Chloe Roberts. I printed it, signed it, and put it in an envelope. Tomorrow, I'd drop it off before anyone arrived at the office. No dramatic confrontations, no final speeches, just a quiet exit. I'd saved enough money to last 6 months without working. Maybe longer if I was careful. I'd been putting away 20% of every paycheck since college, living in a small apartment and cooking most of my meals at home. For the first time in months, I felt peaceful. No more walking on eggshells. No more second-guessing every interaction. No more Iris. I made myself a cup of tea and pulled out a book I'd been meaning to read for months. Tomorrow would be the first day of whatever came next. But tonight, I was finally free. 3 months later, I was reading on my apartment balcony when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Chloe? This is Olivia Morrison. I nearly dropped my book. Miss Morrison, how did you get my number? I asked Janet for it. I hope you don't mind. I've been meaning to call you for weeks. My stomach nodded. Is everything okay? Actually, I was hoping we could meet for coffee. There's something I'd like to discuss with you. Would Thursday afternoon work? Of course, but can I ask what this is about? It's better if we talk in person. Are you familiar with Cafe Luna on 5th Street? Yes, I know it. Perfect. 2 o'clock? After we hung up, I stared at my phone, mind racing. Why would Olivia Morrison want to meet with me? I'd been gone for 3 months. Had something happened at the company? Thursday couldn't come fast enough. Olivia was already seated at a corner table when I arrived, looking elegant in a cream-colored blazer. She stood to hug me, which surprised me. You look rested, she said as we sat down. Unemployment suits me, I guess. I tried to smile, but nervousness made my voice tight. Chloe, I need to tell you something, and I'm not sure how to begin. She stirred her coffee absently. I have cervical cancer, stage 4. The words hit me like ice water. Oh my God, Olivia. The doctors give me maybe 6 months, a year if I'm lucky. Her voice was steady, matter of fact. I've been thinking a lot about legacy lately, about what happens to the company when I'm gone. I didn't know what to say. This woman barely knew me, yet she'd trusted me with something so personal. I don't have children, she continued. No siblings, no obvious heir to my shares in Morrison and Associates. I'm so sorry. This must be terrifying. You know what terrifies me most? The thought of people like Iris taking over completely once I'm gone. She leaned forward. I've been asking around about what happened after your presentation, about why you really left. My chest tightened. What did you hear? The truth. Finally. I can't accept this, I said for the 3rd time, staring at the legal document spread across Olivia's dining room table. Why not? Because it's insane. You're giving me controlling interest in a multi-million-dollar company. We barely know each other. Olivia smiled sadly. Chloe, I've spent my entire career building this company. I know talent when I see it. More importantly, I know character. But surely there's someone else. Who? The board members who let Iris terrorize employees for years? The executives who care more about politics than performance? She shook her head. I watched you handle yourself with grace under impossible circumstances. I saw how you treated that presentation as an opportunity to showcase your team's work, not just your own. That doesn't qualify me to run a company. It qualifies you to lead people. The business skills can be learned. She picked up a pen and signed another document. Besides, I'm not dying tomorrow. I'll be here to help you transition, at least for a while. I stared at the papers that would make me the majority shareholder of Morrison and Associates. It felt surreal, like something from a movie. What about Iris? What about her? She'll never accept this. She'll fight it. Olivia's smile turned sharp. Let her try. The board meeting was called for Monday morning. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 10 minutes, trying to calm my nerves. Through the contract, I now owned 51% of Morrison and Associates. In theory, I was about to become the boss of everyone who'd watched Iris destroy my career. In theory. I walked through the lobby, past the reception desk where Amanda gave me a shocked look. Chloe? What are you doing here? Meeting, I said simply, heading for the elevators. The boardroom was full when I arrived. 12 faces turned toward me, some surprised, others confused. Iris sat at the far end of the table, her expression shifting from puzzlement to annoyance. What is this nonsense doing here? She demanded, not even bothering to use my name. Before anyone could answer, Olivia stood up. Thank you all for coming. I have an important announcement to make. Olivia, Iris interrupted. I'm not sure why Chloe is here, but we have real business to discuss. Sit down, Iris. Olivia's voice cut like steel. The room fell silent. Iris's mouth opened and closed, but she sank back into her chair. As of today, Olivia announced, Chloe Roberts is the new majority shareholder of Morrison and Associates. The silence stretched for what felt like eternity. Chaos erupted. 3 board members started talking at once. Someone demanded to see documentation. Iris shot to her feet, her face purple with rage. This is ridiculous, she shouted. You can't just give away the company to some disgruntled ex-employee. Actually, said Robert, the company's lawyer, shuffling through papers, everything appears to be in order. The transfer is legal and binding. She was fired for performance issues. She resigned, I said quietly, and I was never fired. Same thing. Iris whirled on me. You couldn't handle the pressure of a real job, so you ran away, and now you think you can just waltz back in here? Iris, Olivia warned. But Iris was beyond caring. This is insane. I've given 12 years to this company. 12 years, and you're handing it over to someone who couldn't even last through a performance review. Sit down, I said, standing up slowly. I will not sit down. I will not be ordered around by someone who... Sit down. My voice was stronger now. Or security will escort you out. For the first time since I'd known her, Iris actually looked uncertain. She glanced around the room, searching for support, but found only uncomfortable silence. Slowly, she sat. I know this is a surprise, I began, looking around the table. I know some of you have questions about my qualifications, my plans, my ability to lead this company. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. That's fair. A few months ago, I was a senior analyst. Today, I'm your majority shareholder. That's a big jump. That's one way to put it, muttered someone. But I didn't ask for this position to get revenge or settle scores. I accepted it because I believe this company can be better than it is. I looked directly at Iris. I believe we can create a workplace where talent is rewarded, where good ideas are recognized regardless of who has them, and where employees don't have to choose between their dignity and their careers. Pretty words, Iris said coldly. But do you have any actual business experience? Any leadership background? Any clue what it takes to run a company? No, I admitted, but I know what it takes to destroy one, and I've watched you do it for years. The room went dead quiet. Effective immediately, I continued. Iris Wells is terminated from Morrison & Associates. Iris exploded. You can't fire me. I have a contract. I have rights. Actually, Robert said, consulting his notes, there's a clause about termination for cause. Harassment, hostile work environment, retaliation against employees. That's all lies. Is it? I opened the folder I'd brought. Because I have documentation going back 18 months, emails, witness statements, performance reviews that contradict actual performance metrics. I pulled out a thick stack of papers. Sarah in accounting kept records of every time you blamed system errors on your subordinates. Marcus documented the meetings you excluded him from after he disagreed with you once. Janet in HR has 3 formal complaints about your management style that were mysteriously buried. Iris's face went white. And then there's me, I smiled sadly. The presentation sabotage, the office relocation, the systematic campaign to make me look unstable. Did you really think no one would ever piece it together? Those people are lying. They're just bitter. Security is waiting outside, I said gently. You can leave quietly, or they can help you. For a moment, I thought Iris might actually attack me. Her hands clenched into fists, her breath came in short gasps, then she grabbed her purse and stalked toward the door. This isn't over, she hissed. You'll regret this. I doubt it, I replied. After Iris left, the boardroom felt different. Lighter, somehow. Well, said Margaret, the CFO, that was intense. Are we going to talk about the elephant in the room? Asked David, head of operations. How exactly does this transition work? What's the plan? I took a breath. For the next 6 months, Olivia will work with me to learn the executive side of the business. I'll be meeting with each of you individually to understand your departments, your challenges, your needs. And after 6 months? Margaret asked. I glanced at Olivia, who nodded encouragingly. After 6 months, I'll be ready to lead this company into its next phase of growth. What does that mean exactly? David pressed. It means we're going to focus on our people first. Happy employees create better work, which leads to happier clients, which drives revenue. I looked around the table. I know that sounds simplistic, but I've seen what happens when we do the opposite. You mean Iris's approach? Margaret asked. I mean any approach that treats employees as disposable, that rewards politics over performance, that allows toxic behavior to flourish because someone's numbers look good. Nods around the table. I could see cautious optimism in their faces. Give me a chance, I said. Give this company a chance to be what it should be. My first week as majority shareholder was overwhelming. I moved into the executive office, temporarily, Olivia insisted, until I was comfortable making it my own. I spent my days in back-to-back meetings, learning about budgets and strategies and market projections. But I also made time for the employees who'd been silenced under Iris's regime. She made me feel stupid, Sarah confessed during our one-on-one meeting. Every time I brought up a discrepancy or suggested an improvement, she'd roll her eyes and say something like, "Leave the thinking to the thinkers, Sarah." Marcus was even more direct. She killed morale on purpose, divided people against each other so we couldn't organize against her. The stories poured out. Months of pent-up frustration and anger and hurt. I listened to every word, taking notes, asking questions. Why didn't anyone report this? I asked Janet. Report it to who? Iris was the one who handled complaints about management and the board. Janet shrugged. They only cared about quarterly numbers. I made a mental note to restructure our HR processes completely. Things are going to change, I promised each person. Not overnight, but they will change. By Friday, word had spread throughout the office. The atmosphere felt different. Hopeful, maybe, for the first time in years. I want to do an ethics audit, I told Olivia over lunch. Bring in outside consultants to review our workplace policies, interview employees anonymously, identify systemic problems. That's expensive, she warned. So are lawsuits, so is turnover, so is having a workforce that's too demoralized to do their best work. Olivia smiled. You're thinking like an owner now. Is that good or bad? It's necessary. She picked at her salad. There's something else you should know. About the transition. My stomach tightened. Your health? The cancer's progressing faster than expected. I might have less time than we thought. How long? Maybe 3 months, maybe 4. I put down my fork. Olivia, hey. She reached across the table to squeeze my hand. This is why I needed to find the right person. Someone who could carry on without me. I don't feel ready. Nobody ever does. But you have good instincts and you care about people. That's more than most leaders can say. We sat in silence for a moment. There's one more thing, she said quietly. Something I haven't told you yet. What? The company isn't the only thing I'm leaving you. Olivia's condition deteriorated quickly. By December, she was working from home most days, coming into the office only for the most important meetings. I found myself calling her every evening, ostensibly to discuss business, but really just to check on her. You don't have to take care of me, she said during one of our calls. I want to. I'm not your responsibility, Chloe. Maybe not, but you're my friend. I started bringing her groceries, driving her to doctor's appointments, sitting with her during chemotherapy sessions. The treatments weren't curative, just palliative, buying time rather than providing hope. Do you have regrets? I asked one afternoon as we sat in her garden. About the company? About you? About anything. She considered this. I regret not standing up to bullies sooner, not speaking out when I saw good people being crushed by bad leaders. She looked at me. But giving you the company? That's the best decision I've made in years. Even though I'm terrifying your board? Especially because you're terrifying them. Change is supposed to be scary. In January, she stopped coming to the office altogether. In February, she entered hospice care. I visited every day, sometimes talking business, sometimes just sitting quietly together. She died on a Tuesday morning in March, with me holding her hand. The funeral was larger than I'd expected. Employees I barely knew came to pay their respects. Board members who'd questioned my appointment spoke about Olivia's wisdom and vision. Even some former employees returned to honor her memory. After the service, Olivia's lawyer, Patricia, asked me to stay behind. There are some additional documents you need to review, she said, pulling out a thick envelope. What kind of documents? Olivia's personal will, separate from the business assets. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were deeds, investment portfolios, bank statements. Numbers that made my eyes widen. She left me her house? Houses, plural. The one in the city, the beach cottage, and the cabin in Colorado. Patricia flipped through pages. Also her art collection, her investment portfolio, and about $2 million in liquid assets. I sank into a chair. This is too much. There's a letter, too. Patricia handed me an envelope with my name written in Olivia's careful handwriting. I opened it with shaking fingers. Chloe, I read aloud, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Don't feel guilty about accepting these gifts. I chose you not just to run my company, but to carry on my values. Use this money to do good. Make the world a little better than you found it. With love and respect, Olivia. I folded the letter carefully, tears blurring my vision. 3 months after Olivia's death, I was working late when security called to say someone was demanding to see me. Without an appointment, making a scene in the lobby. I knew who it was before they said her name. Iris stormed into my office, looking haggard and desperate. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her usually perfect hair was disheveled, and there were dark circles under her eyes. You ruined my life, she said without preamble. I looked up from my computer. Hello, Iris. I can't get a job anywhere. Do you know that? Anywhere. Her voice cracked. Your little revenge campaign followed me to every interview, every opportunity. I haven't said a word about you to anyone. Liar. You've been sabotaging me, just like I supposedly sabotaged you. Iris, I've been running a company. I don't have time to think about you, let alone sabotage you. She laughed bitterly. Right, you just happened to become a millionaire, and I just happened to become unemployable. You became unemployable because of your own actions, the way you treated people, the bridges you burned. Word gets around in this industry. I was good at my job. You were good at taking credit for other people's work. That's not the same thing. Iris slumped into the chair across from my desk, suddenly looking older and more fragile. You destroyed everything I worked for, she whispered. No, I said gently. You did that yourself. 6 months later, I stood in front of the entire Morrison & Associates staff for our quarterly meeting. The company was thriving. Employee satisfaction scores were at an all-time high, client retention had improved dramatically, and we'd landed 3 major new accounts. I want to talk about legacy, I began, about the kind of company we want to be, and the kind of leaders we want to become. I thought about Olivia, about her quiet strength and unwavering values, about the second chance she'd given me and the trust she'd placed in my hands. A wise woman once told me that the measure of a leader isn't how they treat people who can help them, but how they treat people who can't. I looked around the room, seeing faces that were engaged, hopeful, proud to be part of something meaningful. We're going to continue growing, continue innovating, continue challenging ourselves to be better. But we're never going to lose sight of what matters most. Treating each other with respect, recognizing good work regardless of who does it, and creating an environment where everyone can succeed. After the meeting, I returned to my office, Olivia's office, which I'd finally made my own, and opened my laptop to review the latest donation reports. True to my promise, I'd given away 80% of Olivia's personal fortune to cancer research foundations. The remaining money would fund the Olivia Morrison Leadership Institute, a program to train ethical business leaders and support employees facing workplace harassment. I leaned back in my chair, looking out the window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Iris was probably still bitter, still convinced that I'd stolen something from her. But I'd learned that some people would rather blame others than change themselves. As for me, I was exactly where I belonged.